Authentic. My name is Cathy Richardson, and today I'm going to be meeting with Ian Johnson. He's a therapist that lives in Wollongong, Australia, and he's going to be interviewing me, demonstrating a solution-focused interview. So we'll be right back. Hey, so I'm here with Ian Johnson, and we're going to have a conversation in the form of a solution-focused interview. And Ian, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Ian. I'm sitting today on the lands of the Dharawal people in Wollongong, traditionally the home of the Wadi Wadi people, who are Dharawal speaking. It's a great pleasure to be here and speaking with my old friend Cathy, and I'm very much looking forward to the conversation. Uh, in my work, I work as a family therapist, psychologist, and I was initially trained in solution-focused therapy, and from that found the work of Alan Wade and colleagues at the Centre for Response-Based Practice, and now I'm also very interested in response-based work. I work a lot with families and young people who have experienced violence or some sort of disruption, and am passionate and committed to social justice and to conversations in which we can uphold people's dignity and create safety.
Hmm. Thanks, Ian. And you may know or not, I'm on the traditional lands of the Abenaki people in southern Quebec, quite near the American border. And yeah, I'd like to also acknowledge the caretakers of the land and the ancestors here, and I feel very privileged to live here. And I've been to your beautiful land there too. And yeah, just feeling really grateful about that. So I'm just wondering if you want to tell a little bit about what you are going to demonstrate in the interview.
Right. So thanks, Cathy. So yeah. So Cathy's been interested in exploring some solution focused work and talking with me about family and using some of those ideas. People might be familiar that often in uh, psych thinking broadly, there's a lot of ideas about family structure and relationships and attachment and um, sets of ideas that are really abstractions. And what the solution focused work, uh, the reason I was really took to it that like a fish to water was because it avoided those abstractions, and it was more focused on talking with people in a way about directly about their experience and trying to find out from them about what was working in their life and how they made meaning of things and what was important to them without going into the broad ideas about your position in the family or personality or any kind of other abstractions. And so yeah, my hope in not just the conversation with you, but in a conversation with anyone, is to try to talk in a realistic way about experience and how you made sense of it and how it makes sense to understand it in the way that you did
Yeah.
and continue to make sense of it. Uh, Given that as human beings we are or responding to other people in context and always in this process of making meaning and understanding the totality of our experience in the present moment.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping that using some of the solution focused ideas and question frames, we can really generate together a lovely description of um, what happened in your family life and how you make meaning of it and what it means to you today going forward.
Mhm. Okay, well, I'm up for it. It sounds really fun, actually, really interesting. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. And so in solution focused work, we tend to open with a question uh, about what your best hopes are from the conversation. So if it's okay with you,
Yeah.
I'll ask, what are your best hopes from talking with me this morning?
Thanks, Ian. Yeah, I thought of a time when I was 12, so I went back into that part of my life, and I hope to explore an event or a small series of events um, that that I was involved in at that age in relation to my father and his new girlfriend and just what was going on in my family. I have one sister, and I've never explored this before, other than just kind of like laughing about it in horror. But yeah, just to get some more clarity and insight and maybe have some compassion for myself at that age. Yeah.
And what would be important for uh, us to know about that time? Can you tell me a little about about the context leading up to being with Dad? And you said Dad and stepmom
Yeah,
or
eventually
girlfriend?
she became a stepmom.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'd like to say is I had a pretty awesome childhood. It was really pretty perfect in a lot of ways. I mean, not that not that everybody was perfect, but it was a gentle childhood, and both my sister and I were very well loved and cared for till I was 12, I'll say. And yeah, so my parents, they met in Vancouver and they got married in around 1960. And so I was born in 1962 and then my sister in 1964. So when I was 12 years old, my parents separated. And so life really changed for us, um, for all of us individuals in that family. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Um, and you said some clarity and some insight. So, what kind of so that I'm thinking, the flipping that around. Um, there's uh, some things that are not quite clear, or that you maybe haven't described accurately yet, or there's some things
Mhm.
that are still sticky or kind of. So, what with some more clarity and insight, how will that make a difference for you?
Well, I think I'll have yeah, like I'll have more compassion for myself and understanding. And part of the story involves me telling a big lie. And I was always raised, to be a truthful person. And and I thought about this a lot later on working as a therapist, realizing that sometimes the truth is, reserved for people who are privileged and safe and other people who don't feel unsafe, or they just feel like other people don't have a right to all this information about
Yeah,
their life and their thinking and things like that.
yeah,
So um I guess I kind of carried some guilt about having told a lie to my father. And I mean, it's a funny situation, but
yeah,
um I guess that, trying to make meaning of lying. And yeah, just I guess the nature of family life, maybe having a bit more empathy for my parents. I'm not sure. As you know, not that it's relevant to this story, but my mom is Indigenous and my dad was a settler from England. So
yeah,
just for a bit of context, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So, some more compassion and understanding, making sense of uh, uh, what, well, a, a lie at the time, but more broadly, how it makes sense sometimes to lie, and understanding um, that uh, that um, well, I guess what I'm thinking is it's connecting to dignity in some way. Wanting to uh, protect, care and protect yourself, but also to not uh, give things to people who are maybe not deserving of of things, given the way they're treating you or what's happening in your life.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think part of my responsibility of smoothing things over and always trying to make other people feel comfortable.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, all right. Uh, I'm going to. This is one of my favorite solution focused questions, and feel free to laugh or bounce it back to me. But at this point in the conversation, what do you think would be the most useful question I could ask you?
Oh yeah, I love that question. Um, well, I think one of the interesting ones is what were you thinking at the time?
Right.
But
So, so, Kathy, what were you thinking at the time?
yeah, or just like how are you managing this whole big
Yeah,
transition in your life,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'd be curious. Yeah, what were you thinking, and how were you managing that? You
Yeah.
said you'd had a gentle, kind of somewhat easy first 12 years, and
Yeah.
then things shifted quite dramatically. What did you do?
Yeah. Well, would it be okay if I told you about this scenario that I wanted to explore? Yeah, so what happened when my parents separated is my sister and I mostly stayed with my mom, and my dad found a property to live on. And he actually rented a cabin from his friend, but there was quite a bit of land there. And one of the things that I notice about divorced fathers or separated fathers when they haven't been the major parent, the main parent, is they often don't know what to do with their kids, like to entertain them. And it's sort of like, oh, there's the weekend. I mean, this was pre-McDonald's, but I see a lot of dads that take their kids to the
Mhm.
McDonald's or to the movies, or for us, it was bowling and we would play
Yeah,
softball. And so one of the things that he let me do when I was 12, he had this big old car and so he let me drive it all around the property. And I thought that was really fun. I really liked it. So I just had this huge car. Sometimes I'd have my sister in it with me. And yeah, we just drive around. And so this was a day when he had just started dating this new woman who he would later marry. And so he invited her over for breakfast. And just, to all you adults out there, like it's a horrible thing to do. Don't just like separate and then a couple weeks later say, oh, this lady's coming over. And so he said to my sister and I want you to make breakfast for Claire. And so I don't know how we got through that, because the impulse is to want to burn everything or to,
yeah,
smear it with butter or something. I don't know. It was an unreasonable request. But anyway, my sister and I made breakfast for her. And then we went outside and I was driving the car around again for fun, and she had a little Datsun. You don't see much of those anymore, but it was a small car, and she parked to the right of his car. And so after driving around, I drove up, and when I drove into the driveway, I hit her car and it scraped the back of her car, the back left side. But for my dad's car, it made a huge dent in the door. It was this huge concave. And my sister was like, she ran away and hid. She was really scared. She was 10. And I was thinking, oh, fuck, what am I gonna do? So I pull up the car, get out, and we just go inside and I'm pretending like nothing happened. And then what we did next was is kind of odd. We all came outside and we got in the car and we drove to another town to go swimming in a swimming pool. So Claire had to get in the passenger door. So when she got in, like she didn't really know us, and it's a new scene. She sees this big dent in the door. And I'm sure when we're backing up, she's looking at the back end of her car to see if there was any scrapes or anything. And, luckily it didn't really do anything to her car. So she drove with us for an hour without saying anything about this big dent. And I'm in the back seat, just panicking, probably like feeling like, oh no, what am I gonna do? So we had a day out and came home, and I didn't. My dad didn't see it then, and then we got home, and then he noticed. And he said, "Oh my gosh, what happened here?" Like he wasn't mad, but he was curious, right? And I said, I hit a post. It was like a field with, it used to have, enclaves for animals or something. I said, I think when I turned around, I hit a post and it smashed the door in. And then I noticed him. He went up to Claire's car and he was looking at the back around the bumper or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was trying
Yeah.
to see if I had hit the car. And luckily, you could hardly see anything, but there might have been just a little chip of paint.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happened after that. We just got on with our lives, but I had lied to him and I guess everyone else there, her too. And they never brought it up again. And I always felt really terrible, but I always felt really grateful that he didn't like challenge me on it or anything. And yeah, so that's what happened. And then I guess as time went on, I felt kind of like, ooh, we weren't raised religiously, but we did have a few of those, what are they called? The golden rules of
Yeah.
living
Yeah.
or whatever's thrown at us,
Yeah.
and thou shalt not lie was one of them. And
Yeah.
so I was always just curious about how I lied about that. And I basically got caught, but he never brought it up again. So I think there was some kind of dignity at work there. And yeah, I'm just curious to know what
Yeah.
you think about that.
Yeah. Uh, well, uh, yeah. Um, I think it's one of those dilemmas that that can be a turning point in our understanding of ourselves. Where there's an opportunity to do something and we're unsure about how to manage it, and um, we often, uh, it's a bit like in counselling work when you have a conversation and it goes kind of terribly wrong. Uh, it's a better teacher almost than when it goes well, right? Um, because we wrestle with how come it didn't work. Like what is it that I need to understand here? What actually happened? Um,
Yeah.
you know, um, and so and though and as human beings, I think self doubt is one of the things that helps us to be accountable, and helps us to be better people. Not if it's crippling, of course, uh, but, but for most people, it's not crippling. It's actually a normal part of checking that you're approaching things with humility and staying interested in whether in your interactions with others you're being reasonable and fair. Um, and so in that sense, self doubt is a friend, right? It's
Yeah. Yeah, that's a nice way to put it.
and dilemmas are kind of opportunities to reflect and learn and make meaning about things that we need to make meaning about, because there are many situations in which it is not necessarily the Ten Commandments
Mhm.
notwithstanding. There are many situations in which there is some ambiguity about what the best thing to do is. Um,
Mhm. Yeah.
um, you know, uh, I'm curious, when you went back into the house, you said, I pretended like nothing had happened. So, uh, I would like to ask you, at that moment when you got out of the car and walked back into the house, how did you decide to pretend like nothing had happened?
How did I decide?
Hmm.
Oh, well, I think I made a decision like I'm not gonna go in there and say, "Oh, I just hit your new girlfriend's car," because I think he wanted to welcome her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it could have been seen as an act of sabotage. And sometimes we do a split off, a mental split off, and we don't do things on purpose, but we're actually really glad they happened. It's like we want to sabotage, but we don't do it deliberately, but it happens anyway. Something like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like I would have really liked it if she had left and never came back, right? Um, the whole situation was very strange and uncomfortable. And that's why I asked you to watch that series Fleabag
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
before we did this, because that story is like two, adult women managing their dad and his new wife, right?
Yeah.
And they still have allegiance to their mother, and they have to make really awkward trade-offs. They want their dad to be happy, but they don't like the dynamics. They find them very creepy and unethical at some points. And then um, there's one scene in that series when the new wife comes to the daughters and says, "Look, you just have to let me be in this process and control your father, because if he gets sick and old, I will be looking after him. And I'm pretty sure that neither of you want to do that." That kind of dynamic, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So my dad
Yeah.
had three wives altogether.
Right.
Yeah. So that was kind of like the I think the dynamic was managing these women that wanted to kind of take him away from his first family, distance him completely from his first
Yeah.
wife, and have the kids not around very much, just like on 2 or 3 holidays a year, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds though that you made a kind of, I mean, you said there was a bit of like there's a sense in which you can see there was a bit of a split going into the house, like, but it sounds like you made a decision because you could have gone and said, "Oh, gee, I'm really sorry, I just smashed your car. Oops," uh,
Yeah.
and she would have gotten upset or whatever, perhaps, uh, but you actually uh, didn't. Yeah, I guess perhaps there's some level at which there's unconscious sabotage or something going on.
I don't,
Uh,
yeah.
well, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, again, the problem with thinking about unconscious motives is, there's no flaw to that. You can keep inventing them and going deeper and deeper, and all you're
Oh,
doing is
yeah, of
building a
course.
house of cards, right?
And I didn't
What?
I didn't do it on purpose, but I liked my explanation.
Yeah,
We
oh yeah,
have these fantasies. I didn't do it on purpose, but the fact that somebody hit their car, I would be kind of maybe glad about that.
yeah. That's right. But in the moment, you actually chose uh, to not make a thing about it. You could have brought that up as a tool to give yourself some power, in that situation to influence what was going on between them in that time to hijack that moment for them. Um, but,
Yeah, I didn't
but
want to do that. Yeah.
but you didn't. No, no. So
Yeah.
you cared for your dad and for his, what he wanted in that relationship on some level, even though it was awkward and a bit uncomfortable, and this person was, well, really a kind of threat to uh, the family structure you'd enjoyed for the 12 years before. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, and I think another natural reaction would have been, if I couldn't hold the tension, would to be going crying and
yeah,
say, her car jumped in front of me or something like, and I feel bad. But that wasn't what I was holding emotionally. It was like, oh no, like I've done something bad. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And what do you, for you now, when you think about it, what do you think was the toughest thing? The the holding onto the lie or the hitting of the car?
Oh, no, the car doesn't bother me so much.
No.
It, uh, yeah, I guess it's I don't know if you would call it shame, but I think I was in some kind of bind where I felt like I couldn't be honest
Yeah.
with my dad. Like it was actually going to make the situation better if we all just pretended that I hit a post and it had nothing to do with
Yeah.
her or her car.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been thinking a lot about this idea about shame. Um, and, I know there's a lot of work around, shame being, one of the primary human emotions. And, and people love to point out the difference between, guilt, like I could have done better, and shame, I need to be a better person. But for me, that whilst that's obvious, that kind of misses the point because uh, I I think shame points you to a desire for dignity, right? Um,
Yeah.
that it tells us that so when we're humiliated, our dignity is robbed by
Hmm.
what happens in that interaction or in that moment. We have a sense that our dignity is robbed. We feel humiliated or shame. Um, and it really seems to me that what you did was orientate back to dignity. What is actually the most dignified thing you can do in this moment? Um, uh, Pretend that I didn't hit the car accidentally or on purpose.
Yeah.
And what's curious is that uh, both Dad's girlfriend and Dad too uh, wanted to maintain that dignity, or so it seems. That's what I'm wondering. Anyway, do you
Mhm.
think that was the case? I mean, it sounds like she got in the car and decided to not say anything about the big whack on the door. Um, Dad, Dad didn't say anything for an hour. Maybe he didn't know. When he came back, he was like, "Oh," but again, he wasn't angry. He was more like curious. And your sense is he probably knew what was going on, but he chose not to. Well, to maintain your dignity in that moment, and to not make a fuss about anything. Um,
I think
but
so. I think it was too early. It was too early for her to get in the car and say, "Oh, Ed, there's a big dent in the door." I think Kathy hit something. Like that was she didn't even know us, right?
yeah,
She was on her best behavior, and and actually, I didn't see my dad angry in our whole time together more
yeah,
than once or twice, and so I could tell that he thought I hit her car because he was examining her car, but
yeah,
I guess it just didn't serve any purpose. We got to get to the truth around this to drag it out.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I
yeah,
guess there's a thing, like Ben Furman says, are you not doing it because you don't want to or you don't know how? And I realized there were some things that I didn't know what to do. Like I didn't know how to
yeah,
do it. And some of them were with my dad. Like we used to play softball a lot and get other kids and other people around. And I remember a few times I almost hurt somebody. I was hitting the ball. Once I hit the ball and then I threw the bat because I didn't know how to like hit the ball and put the bat down gently and run. And so they just said, don't throw the bat. They were stern with me. And so I had to become aware of that, but I was never aware because it just seemed natural that if you would hit the ball, it would go there and you just throw the bat. At another time, we were playing softball in a park, and I hit the ball just like you're supposed to, but it went near a mother with a baby, and she was scared that I almost hit her baby with a softball. And I almost felt kind of ashamed about those things, but it wasn't my fault. I was not a good enough player to know
yeah,
how to not hit in any
yeah,
particular direction or
yeah,
manage bats or anything. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. In both those cases, though, right? I mean, it's pointing to a desire, to be, to have people's respect, and to have them uphold your dignity in that moment. You weren't doing it on purpose, as I love
Yeah.
Ben's work, but yeah, like it's just a skill you don't. have at that point. You have to, yeah, have to learn how to kind of drop the bat at your feet rather than swing and
Yeah.
throw it and run. Yeah,
And, I think as a parent, I think like my dad had to decide in what cases he should publicly be firm with me or shame me, and what cases he shouldn't. Because if other people think that I almost hit a kid with a flying bat and he doesn't say anything, oh, don't worry, that's okay. People would get mad at him, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a dynamic open process that it involves always meaning to be made, and in that interaction, people have to make choices around values and um, not, well, I was going to say overtures to what's right, but it's not actually overtures. It's orientating to what's important. And sometimes there's a dilemma, isn't there, between your love and care and want to protect a child or someone who's in a more vulnerable position, developmentally or otherwise, and the need to acknowledge that there's potential harm or risk. Um, it's a it's a dilemma that parents face every day, especially when kids hit their adolescence. I think, right? Um, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, there's lots of dynamics to manage, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And going forward from that time, I imagine that you had plenty of opportunities to say something to your dad about, uh, that time, that breakfast that morning. Uh, what did you do? Have you actually had a yarn with your dad about this, um, since, or have you continued to kind of sit with that?
You mean the thing about cooking her breakfast and in the car?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, my dad passed away about 10 years ago, and I don't think we ever really brought it up again.
right.
I think I felt too, I'll just say ashamed. I that's not exactly the right word, but
No.
maybe like uncomfortable
Yeah.
to do that. Like we had made the decision we're going to overlook it. I don't Let's just let it sit. But I guess if I had the opportunity to sit with him now, I might say, "Oh, you knew that I hit her car, right?" And he would have
Yeah.
said, "Yeah," and we'd probably laugh. That
Yeah.
marriage didn't work out, so whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I mean, do you think you'd say, thanks for not making a thing about it, or what?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think I would. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Um, and um, how is that, that experience, this kind of, yeah, a small dilemma? How do you think that's informed you going forward? How have you made meaning of that over the years and continue to make? I mean, given that, so many years later, you kind of think about this story and think, oh, I wouldn't mind having a yarn about that. Um,
Yeah.
what is it about it that's still sticky, and what is it about it that's important in terms of a chance to have a yarn or think about it? And has it been informing you in some sort of way that's been useful or meaningful?
Well, I think around preserving dignity for sure. And the thing is, I think our generation, I can't speak for you, but I will anyway. I think we were raised to kind of behave ourselves. And behaving ourselves was kind of more important than let's be honest and transparent and say what we really feel. And and I think sometimes people might phone us and then we just answer the phone. Like now I realize, God, for 50 years, I could have just not answered the phone, right? If I don't feel like talking to them. Now you can look and see who it is, but we have choice. But it's like if somebody comes and asks me a question, even if I don't know them, for years, I would feel obliged to answer, right? Or it's like if someone apologizes, you feel obliged to forgive them. It's these interactional things, and I'm just as an adult getting some boundaries and saying, "Wait, that's none of your business." It, it's not. I'm not even going to tell you if it was me that hit that car or not. Like, who are you to ask me that, right?
It,
So,
there's a sense though in which I mean, in some ways it's liberating, um, uh, but there's also a sense in which something is lost, isn't there? Uh, you know, in um, well, you know, in recognizing how much choice we have, um, uh, you know, um, I think it can open the door to um, not being as kind or not being as thoughtful, or being a little more selfish. Um,
mhm.
um,
Yeah, there's lots going on there. And also, just like in terms of data and so much we do on the internet, we need to get something done. But then you have to check the box that says you give them permission to use your information or whatever. And if you don't check the box, you can't access the thing that you really need. So, um, yeah, we're trying to feel like we have some dignity and choice and freedom in a society where we don't actually have that much. And maybe I'm part of it is like being a woman. I feel like I was really trained to be uh, polite, but sometimes servile and uh, you know.
yeah, yeah,
Well, I
yeah.
remember once my dad had a friend over and he looked at me and he said, will you make us some sandwiches?" I just thought, what the fuck? But I did. I made the sandwiches. And I was a teenager and I served them. And I said to his friend, "You're really lucky. I usually don't make sandwiches for men." It's like this came out of the blue. But I mean that guy, he thought I was a real bitch, but it just I had to preserve my dignity.
But you just made him a sandwich.
I know. Yeah, funny.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I was kind of thinking about it the other way, that sometimes, you know, like, I don't know if you have that experience nowadays where you hear young people talking on their phones on the train, and they're ringing the telecommunications company, and they're like telling them how terrible they are and how they're going to do this, and I'm thinking, oh my god, like, listen to this person. They're
Yeah.
so like confident but loud and aggressive, and you know, like,
Hmm.
uh, uh, you know, I was like, I'm longing for some past career where it's like, look, this is really isn't satisfactory. Can you please look into it? Let me know what you can do to fix it. But they're like,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah, no, I think the social fabric is maintained through, decency and kindness and that kind of thing. Um, but I guess at the same time, part of that is if somebody asks me a question and I don't want to answer it, if I just make up an answer, that's what they get. Who cares
yeah,
if it's not real, you know? Make
yeah,
up a joke answer or whatever. Like the most important thing is the exchange, and people often are uncomfortable and they ask you something because they're trying to connect. But, you know, as a
yeah,
woman, if I don't feel like answering it, I would just, one fun thing that I'll do is I'll just ask them the same question. I don't know. What
yeah,
about you? You know?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it's also a nice way to maintain the relationship, right? Like, you're not saying, fuck off with that stupid question.
No, no, no. No, but I just don't have to tell you the truth.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't
want
know
to.
you that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But I mean, generally, just to put it out there, I do try
yeah,
to be an ethical and truthful person. But there's just all these nuances to it, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a complicated thing to navigate. Yeah,
Because as you say, today those teenagers, they would just say to Claire, "Look, I don't want you around here. You know,
yeah,
my dad's too good for you, Puff or whatever." And we weren't like that. We couldn't talk back and be really cheeky and rude and we'd get in trouble. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm curious too. You spoken to your sister about um, this, and what sense is she making of that and of your dad's responses and the way you managed that situation?
Oh, I just remember, what we were like at that time, like the big permed hair and tried having glasses, but trying to get contact lenses. It was like we were kind of like a mess trying to figure out like how to be. But it would be fun to have that conversation next time I see her, right? With braces, and, like, yeah, it was a hard time in life, really.
So you haven't talked to her about that?
I
About
don't
about
I mean, I might have brought it up like once or
Right.
twice over the years, but it would be fun to sit down and
Yeah,
talk
I'd
about
be
it.
really curious as to what meaning she made of it, and
Yeah,
how your dad responded, and how you both responded to the kind of like, oh my oh my god, I hit the car. Uh,
yeah. Yeah, like another thing I used to do when we'd go visit my dad. My dad smoked cigarettes then. And, it was a cabin, small. So if he had a cigarette, it was pretty smoky. So I would go in his bathroom, which was only like 2 feet away from the living room, and I would smoke a cigarette in his bathroom. And I would come out and think that nobody knew. But if you opened the door, it would have been filled with. But I don't know if it's magical thinking or something. I just thought I got away with it. Or maybe, again, he just didn't bother saying anything.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, what's he going to say?
Are you smoking cigarettes in the bathroom?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Like, uh,
Yeah.
uh, did he start to hide his cigarettes or move them, away from you or anything like that?
Oh, no, I had my own.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, then he
Uh,
quit, but no.
yeah. Well, yeah, good for him. Um, um, so, how are we going for time?
I
Just,
guess we could just start to,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
wrap it up a bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, now, I'm aware that as talking about solution focused work that I haven't asked you, a scaling question, but I would. So let's see if we can incorporate one
Okay.
um, in just thinking about the uh, how nice it's been to talk this through as much as we've had the chance to talk it through. And
Yeah.
if I was to say, on a scale from 0 to 10, where 10 is, it's been lovely to have the opportunity to think about this and to flesh out what it's meant to me. And 0 is the conversation is really neither here nor there. Where do you think you'd put yourself on a scale between 0 and 10 in terms of having this, finding some meaning and usefulness in this conversation?
Yeah, well, I think I put it around a 9 because what I'm realizing is that this goes into the huge treasure box of family stories, right? This is the kind of story you tell your grandchildren, and everybody has a laugh, after dinner. And the
Yeah,
family stories are built on disgraceful and difficult and awkward scenarios that people laugh at later on, right?
yeah. Well, to put a slightly different spin on it, they're put on the way that people respond to those potentially disgraceful situations with dignity and care and patience and love, which is what you've done and your dad's done. Yeah. So
Yeah, and I've never, and it's odd to say this, but I've never been I never wanted to be a boring person. And I think the best family stories are the ones that are filled with disgrace and controversy. I mean, not hurting people, but like outrageous situations and how people manage them and responded to them. That's where humor comes from, right? The tension between what you know is right and what's really happening in the moment, and how you how you work through that. And so I think the stories that are a bit crazy are the funniest, really.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They're also, what's the quote from Goffman about? um, you know, um, something about extreme situations being, um, being the most informative. I can't think what the actual quote is, but I'm sure you know the
Yeah,
one I'm
yeah,
referring.
yeah.
But it is like those moments where the shit hits the fan, in so many different ways that are instructive. Um,
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I used to love the story. So many people had these stories of when they were a kid, their parents couldn't take them to church that day, so gave them money to give to the collection plate. And so that how they went to the candy store instead and bought a whole bunch of candy. Like I always loved that stuff.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. They're and then the way their parents might have responded if they found out what happened, or it was managed or not managed, or doubts were um, there but not raised, because it wasn't actually the like rubbing somebody's nose, and it wasn't really the important thing. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, um,
Just reminded me of another situation too. I think this happens a lot, maybe not today, but in the past, is that something would go wrong in the family, and the parents would say, "Which one of you kids did this?" And then everyone's in an ethical dilemma because if they admit it, they're going to get a spanking, um, but everyone else will be safe. But if they don't admit it, then the other kids might get a spanking. And it's that it's a classic ethical dilemma, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
or do I say I did it when I didn't do it because I want to save my little sister? So I
yes,
remember a few of those times too, and being accused of something and I didn't do it, but I might have said I did it for those reasons. Yeah, it's
yeah,
tricky, hey?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's dynamic and open, and always you're always responsive to context, right? Like we all are as human beings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about my own parents, and sometimes I've challenged them about things that they've done or said, and their response is, "We didn't say that, dear."
Yeah. Yeah. I don't remember that.
And I'm thinking like,
Yeah.
what? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, we have such good laughs in our family now. Two of my sons, they both had paper routes and they both got caught trying to hide the papers in the woods or in the drain or something. Yeah, and my youngest son, he got fired for paper route. I mean, it's not good environmentally, but it's quite clever to find a way to make it look like you did the job, so you get your 50 cents a week
yeah,
without having to, um, there's a lot of learning from that, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, and maybe if the situation was a little more fair or equitable, it wouldn't have been the choice that he made either, right? Like, from an early age, I recognised when I was being screwed.
Yeah. Well,
Go ahead.
one of my sons said, but there was always this guy, he always waited for his paper. So we always gave him his paper so he'd be happy and he wouldn't phone and complain. But the others, we'd hide them somewhere.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so, Cathy, just in terms of wrapping up, is there anything that you were hoping that I would ask that I haven't asked, or uh, anything that you think would be helpful to kind of um, talk about or kind of bring forward at this point in our conversation?
No, I guess the message I want to close off is like to parents, like, be gentle with your kids. You know, don't always push them in the corner and make them admit everything. It's good to have some grace, you
Yeah,
know, let people slip into innocence sometimes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You didn't hit the car.
Yeah, I know that you know that she knows
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Doing dignity. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's been lovely to talk to you. Thanks for the opportunity to have a yarn about that. Um,
Yeah, yeah, it was really fun, and I know it'll get me thinking about that and my dad, and lots of things from childhood that can also be put in that treasure box of family memories and family stories, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Well, thanks so much, Ian. And thanks everyone for listening. I'm just going to turn off the recording now. So have a wonderful day and evening.